Ryder Colt slammed the door of his pickup truck with such force that the rusty '85 Ford creaked pitifully. Arizona dust settled on his boots, soaked with sweat and cement from a 12-hour shift at a construction site. The sun was already setting behind the horizon of Lockhart, a small town where everyone knew each other, and he was carrying a home, a family, and a reputation as a man who never gives up. "Hey, Colt, tomorrow at 6, don't oversleep." Buck, the foreman, shouted after him, rubbing his dirty palms on his jeans. "Yes, yes, Buck, as if I was ever late," Ryder said over his shoulder, waving his hand. The voice is hoarse, tired, but with that firmness that made people respect it. He was not one of those who argue for the sake of arguing, but if he spoke, everyone listened. The journey home took about 15 minutes. The pickup growled like an old dog, but Ryder loved the car. I bought it for pennies after the army and went through the engine myself. This was his territory, the only place where he could turn off his head and just drive. Today, he was playing the radio a little louder than usual. Old rock from the '80s, Sweet Child O' Mine, guitars cutting the air. He even sang along to a couple of lines until he turned onto the familiar dirt road to his house. The house was modest, one story, with peeling paint on the walls and a porch that he kept meaning to fix. But it's warm inside. Amber, his wife, always kept order. They got married right after school, almost 20 years ago. She was the girl who could make him feel like a king with one look, and he was the guy who was ready to work until he bled just to make her smile. 2 sons, Kane and Levy, completed this picture. Kane, the eldest, 16, just like his father, stubborn, with hands that could already hold a hammer. Levy, 13, softer, more like his mother, loved to read and ask questions that Ryder didn't always know the answers to. He turned off the engine, grabbed his tool bag, and stepped towards the door. The smell of fried chicken filled my nose as Amber was cooking. Ryder smiled at the corner of his lips. After such a shift, it was like a reward. "I'm home," he shouted, kicking off his shoes at the threshold. The dirt from them remained on the rug, and he mentally promised himself to shake it out in the morning. "In the kitchen," Amber responded. Her voice was even slightly strained, but Ryder didn't pay attention. She was often like this in the evening children house, her part-time job at a local pharmacy. He's used to it. Ryder walked through the living room. On the sofa lay Kane's headphones and some kind of Levy's book about space. He shook his head, but pride stirred in his chest. His boys. Kane has been increasingly silent lately, a teenage rebellion, but Levy, on the contrary, could talk about the stars for hours. Ryder wanted to take them to the mountains this weekend and show them how to set up a tent. We haven't been out for a long time. In the kitchen, Amber stood at the stove, stirring something in a frying pan. Her blonde hair was pulled back into a messy ponytail, and her apron, the same one with the stupid flowers that he had given her about 10 years ago, was lightly stained with flour. She didn't turn around when he entered. "Chicken?" Ryder asked, throwing his bag on a chair and walking closer. "Yes, with potatoes," she answered briefly, without looking at him. The spoon in her hand moved faster than necessary. "Great, I'm as hungry as a coyote." He clapped his hands and rubbed them, trying to break the silence. "Where are the boys?" "Kane is with a friend, Levy is in his room." Amber finally turned, but her eyes slid past him to the window. Her smile was strange, forced, as if she had forgotten how to do it. Ryder frowned, but immediately dismissed the thought. Tired, he decided. He himself was exhausted, his back arched. His arms were buzzing. He sat down at the table and reached for a bottle of water. "Listen, Buck was on edge again today," he began, unscrewing the lid. "He says deadlines are running out and half of the guys can barely move. But I showed him how to do it 3 walls in a day, can you imagine? He even shut up for 5 minutes. Amber muttered, putting the frying pan on the table. Her fingers trembled slightly, but Ryder didn't notice. He was too busy with his story. "And also," he continued, "the salary was paid today. I want to get the boys some sneakers. Kane's old ones are already falling apart, and Levy is always running around the yard in his boots. What do you think?" "Good idea," Amber nodded, but her voice was somehow empty. She placed a plate in front of him, sat down opposite him, and began picking at the food with a fork. Ryder took a bite of chicken, chewed it, and swallowed it. Delicious as always. He loved these evenings simple, his own. Amber was silent, and he decided to stir her up. "Hey, what's wrong with you? Tired? Or did Karen from the second lane get everyone in the pharmacy again?" He grinned, expecting her to pick up the joke. Amber was always complaining about Karen, who was always asking for a discount on aspirin. "No, it's just a long day." She shrugged and stood up, putting the frying pan away. Her movements were abrupt, as if she was in a hurry. "Well, rest then. I'll wash the dishes," Ryder suggested, leaning back in his chair. "You know, I'm not lazy." "No need, I'll do it myself," she snapped, too quickly. He narrowed his eyes. "Amber, are you okay?" he asked, now seriously. Something was wrong. He felt it on his skin, like before a thunderstorm. "Yes, everything is fine." She turned to the sink and turned on the water. The noise drowned out her voice, but Ryder sensed the tension. He wanted to come over and hug her like he used to when she was angry or sad. But something stopped him. Maybe it was fatigue. Maybe it was the way she stood with her back to him, as if she had built a wall. He shrugged and stood up. "I'll go and see Levy and see how things are going," he said, leaving the kitchen. The corridor was short, 3 doors. Their bedroom, Kane's room, Levy's room. Ryder knocked on the last one. "Levy, are you alive there?" he shouted, opening the door. "Dad!" Levy jumped out of bed, putting down his book. His blonde hair stuck out in all directions, and his eyes sparkled. "When did you arrive?" "Just now." Ryder stepped inside, looking around the room. "There are books everywhere, some drawings of stars on the table." "What are you reading?" "About Mars." Levy ran to the table, grabbed the book, and pointed his finger at the page. "They write here that in 100 years people will be able to live there. Imagine houses under domes, like in the movies." "Cool," Ryder smiled, patting his son on the head. "Would you fly?" "Certainly." Levy straightened up, as if he was already an astronaut. "And you?" I can barely cope with Buck here, and you're sending me to Mars." Ryder laughed. "But if you call me, I'll think about it." Levy laughed in response, and Ryder felt the tension from the kitchen release. With my son, everything was simple, no walls, no secrets. He sat down on the edge of the bed. "How was school?" he asked, watching Levy leaf through the book. "Fine. Mr. Hill again said that I asked too many questions, but it's not my fault that he doesn't know about black holes." Levy snorted and Ryder chuckled. "You'll finish him off, boy." "Where is Kane?" "At Bobby's again." "Yeah, they're making something in the garage there. Kane said it's a secret, but I think they're just dismantling the bike." Levy rolled his eyes. "Well, as long as they don't blow up anything." Ryder stood up. "Okay, rest. I'll stop by before bed." "Good night, Dad." Levy buried his face in the book again. Ryder left, closing the door. It was quiet in the corridor, only the water was noisy in the kitchen. He walked to the living room, plopped down on the sofa, and turned on the TV. News about the weather, then an advertisement for some beer. He looked but did not see. Thoughts revolved around Amber. What's wrong with her? In recent months, she has been different, sharp, distant. He thought it was because of work, because of money, which was always missing. He worked harder, took overtime so that she wouldn't worry. But today something was different. "Amber," he called without getting up. "Come here, let's sit." "Now," she responded from the kitchen. The voice is still the same, empty. After a couple of minutes, she came out, wiping her hands with a towel. She sat down on the other end of the sofa, further away than usual. Ryder turned to her. "Listen, let's go to the mountains this weekend," he suggested. "Let's take the boys and put up a tent. We haven't rested for a long time." "I don't know," Amber shrugged, looking at the TV. "Let's see." "What, let's see?" He leaned forward. "You loved such outings. Do you remember how we lit a fire by the lake, and Kane was still little, sleeping in a sleeping bag?" "Yes, I remember," she nodded, but without a smile. I don't know, Ryder. Maybe not now." He fell silent. Something pricked inside him, but he pushed it away. She's tired, he told himself. We all have days like this. Okay, as you wish, he leaned back, crossing his arms. But I'll still take the boys. They need to breathe air and not sit on their phones. Okay, Amber stood up. I'll go to bed. I'll have to get up early tomorrow. Already? He looked at his watch. 9 p.m. Well, go ahead. I'll sit for a while longer. She left without saying another word. Ryder watched her go until the bedroom door closed. The silence in the house became thicker. He turned off the TV, got up, and went to the refrigerator. He took the beer, opened it, and took a sip. The cold taste sobered me up a bit. He returned to the sofa, put the bottle on the table, and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow there will be construction again, Buck will scream again, the same routine again. But he didn't complain. This was his life, and he lived it out. For Amber, for the boys, for the family. He trusted them all, his wife, sons, parents, brother. They were his support, and he was theirs. That's what he thought. Ryder finished his beer, threw the bottle in the trash, and went to bed. Passing by Levy's room, he heard the rustle of pages the boy was still reading. He smiled. I went into the bedroom. Amber lay with her back to him, breathing evenly, as if she was already asleep. He undressed and lay down next to her, but did not touch her. For the first time in a long time, there was not just a sheet between them, but something else invisible, cold. He closed his eyes, falling asleep. Tomorrow will be a new day, an ordinary day. That's what he thought. The next day, Ryder Colt turned the wheel of his pickup truck as the sun set below the Lockhart skyline. Today's shift ended early. Buck received a call from his superiors, saying that the delivery of concrete was delayed and everyone was sent home. Ryder didn't complain. An extra couple of hours at home with your family is like winning the lottery after a week of back pain and hammering in your arms. Amber will be happy, he muttered to himself, turning onto the dirt road towards the house. The radio was playing something old, bad to the bone, and he turned up the volume, drumming his fingers on the steering wheel. A plan was already spinning in my head. Stop by home, try to hug my wife, call the boys to the backyard, maybe even kick a ball with Kane and Levy. Simple things, but they meant everything to him. The pickup pulled up in front of the house, tires squealing on the gravel. Ryder looked at his watch. 5 in the evening. He was usually back by 7, so that was a surprise. He grabbed his tool bag, climbed out of the car, and breathed in the hot Arizona air. The smell of dust mixed with something else like the jasmine Amber had planted by the porch a couple of years ago. He smiled at the edge of his lips. She loved these flowers, although she grumbled that they always withered. I'm home, he shouted, pushing the door with his foot. I left my shoes at the doorstep, as always, so as not to drag in the mud. The silence in the house was strange. Usually Levy would already be cracking something, or Kane would have the music turned up at full volume. Today, nothing. Amber, he called, striding across the living room. On the sofa lay the same Kane headphones as yesterday, but the boys could not be heard. Levi, Kane, where are you? Silence. Ryder shrugged. Maybe Amber took them to the store or her sister's house, a couple of streets away. He threw his bag on a chair in the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and grabbed a bottle of water. The cold flowed down my throat, relieving the day's fatigue. He was about to plop down on the sofa when he heard a sound. Quiet, subdued, but familiar. Laugh. Female. From the bedroom. Amber? He put the bottle on the table and walked down the corridor. The door to their bedroom was ajar, just a couple of inches. Through the crack came the soft light of a lamp that he himself had repaired a month ago. And more sounds: rustling, creaking of the bed, a low male voice. Ryder froze. My heart hit my ribs like a hammer hitting a nail. He pushed the door with his palm, and it swung open. Amber was there, on their bed. Her blonde hair was disheveled on the pillow, her apron with flowers was lying on the floor, and her dress, the same blue one that he had given her for her anniversary, had ridden up to her hips. Declan is with her, his old army friend. The same Declan with whom they went through Afghanistan, shared cigarettes in the trenches, pulled each other out from under shelling. His hands squeezed Amber's waist, and his face red, sweaty, was twisted into a grin. Damn. Ryder burst out. His voice cracked as if someone had punched him in the gut. Amber turned around sharply. Her gaze met his, and for a second she froze. Declan turned his head, saw Ryder, and cursed. Ryder. Amber jumped out of bed, pulling her dress down. Her voice trembled, but there was not a drop of shame in it. What are you? What are you doing here? What am I doing here? He stepped forward, his fists clenching by themselves. Anger rushed out like gasoline from a broken tank. This is my home, Amber. And you. You and this piece of shit. Hey, Colt, chill. Declan stood up, pulling on his pants. His voice was calm, almost mocking. He didn't even try to cover himself with a shirt. He stood bare-chested, like he was the owner. Don't make a tragedy out of this. Tragedy? Ryder turned to him. The veins in my neck bulged, and my eyes narrowed. You're in my bed, with my wife, and you're telling me to chill? Ryder, that's enough. Amber stepped between them, raising her hands. Her face was now cold, as if she had been rehearsing this moment. It's over. I'm filing for divorce. The words hit him harder than any fist. He looked at her, at the woman with whom he shared 20 years, gave birth to children, built a life, and he didn't recognize her. Divorce? He asked again, as if checking that he had heard correctly. Are you? Are you serious? Yes. She crossed her arms and straightened up. I'm tired of pretending. Declan gives me what you never could. He's a man in every sense of the word, Ryder. And you just carry boards and think that's enough. Ryder felt the blood rush to his temples. He took a step towards her, but stopped. Hit her? No, he's not like that. But everything was burning inside. Carrying boards, his voice became low, dangerous. I work hard every day so that we have a house, food, so that Kane and Levy don't walk around in cast-offs. Are you talking about the man here? Oh, please. Amber rolled her eyes, and it was like a knife in the back. Do you think work is everything? Have you ever asked what I want? You live for your construction site, your boys, and for you I am furniture. Declan sees me, Ryder. He cares. Does he care? Ryder turned to Declan, who was already fastening his belt, looking at him with a slight grin. What is this concern? Having sex with someone else's wife in her own house. Hey, she called me herself. Declan shrugged, as if that justified everything. Maybe if you had been more attentive, she wouldn't have sought comfort from others. You're always busy, Colt. You sleep with a hammer, not with her. Ryder clenched his fists. He took a step towards Declan, but Amber stepped between them again. Enough, Ryder, she shouted. Leave. This is not your home anymore. Not my house? He almost laughed, but the laugh came out bitter and ragged. I built it, Amber. Every board, every nail. This is my home, my family. No, she shook her head, and anger flashed in her eyes. This is my home, and I want you to leave. Now. He looked at her, at Declan, at the rumpled bed where yesterday he slept next to her. His chest felt tight, as if someone had squeezed the air out of him. He trusted her. With all my soul, he trusted Declan, a brother in arms who swore to watch his back. And now they stood here, naked, insolent, and tore his life into pieces. You're pathetic, Colt. Declan stepped forward, his voice turning venomous. All these years I watched you plow like a loser and thought, when will she understand? You're not a man, you're a workhorse. She chose me because I can give her everything a woman deserves. He looked at Declan. And you are just a piece of crap that I'm about to smear. Ryder rushed towards him. One hit. He stumbled back, but immediately straightened up, grinning. Is that all you can do? Declan wiped his mouth. Weakling. Get out. Amber grabbed Ryder's hand, but he pulled away. No, it's you who got out. He turned to her, his voice trembling with rage. Do you want a divorce? Take it. But this is my home, and I won't leave. Then I'll call the cops. Amber took her phone out of her dress pocket. Her fingers moved quickly, confidently. Go away, Ryder, or I'll say you hit me. He froze. It wasn't a threat. It was a low blow. She knew that he would never lay a hand on her, but she was ready to lie in order to destroy him. He choked on the words. Are you seriously going to do this? Yes, she looked into his eyes, and there was not a shadow of the amber he loved in them. Leave. Declan walked up to her and put his hand on her shoulder. They stood together like a couple, and Ryder like a stranger in his own home. He turned around, grabbed his bag from the kitchen, and walked towards the door. Every step resonated in my head like a gunshot. He didn't look back, didn't say another word. The door slammed behind him so hard that the glass shook. The pickup truck was parked there. Ryder threw his bag on the seat, got behind the wheel, and hit it with his fist. Once, twice, 3 times. The roar in his chest was torn out, but he clenched his teeth. He won't scream. It won't break. Not here. He started the engine, squeezed the gas, and rushed away from the house. From Amber. From Declan. From everything that he considered his own. The light in the bedroom flickered in the rearview mirror, and he knew they were there. Together. The road ahead was dark and empty. Where to go? He didn't know. But I knew one thing. This is just the beginning. They will regret it. Ryder Colt's pickup sped down the highway, leaving Lockhart behind. The engine growled, the headlights snatched pieces of asphalt from the darkness, and my head was buzzing from Amber's words and Declan's grin. He didn't know where he was going, but he couldn't stop. Anger squeezed my chest like a vice, and every turn of the steering wheel was an attempt to escape from this hell. The radio was silent. He turned it off near the house so as not to hear anything except his own breathing. To hell with it, he muttered, slamming his palm on the dashboard. The pickup swerved, but he righted it in one motion. You can't go home. Amber is there. Declan is there. There is a bed that he assembled himself, and now it is soaked in their betrayal. Half an hour later, he turned onto the old road to Crockett Lake, a quiet place 20 miles from Lockhart, where he had once fished with his father and brother. There was an abandoned pier, a couple of rusty boats, and silence. The rider turned off the engine, climbed out of the car, and kicked the gravel. His tool bag was left on the passenger seat, and he only had a bottle of water in his hands, which he grabbed before leaving. He threw it into the lake, the plastic flopped into the black water and disappeared. 20 years, he growled, looking at the reflection of the moon. For 20 years I gave everything to her. And like this, he sat on the edge of the dock, his boots dangling above the water. His hands were shaking, but not from weakness, from rage. He could come back and smash Declan's face. He could have thrown Amber out of the house like trash. But she threatened the cops, and he knew that in this town her word against his would carry more weight. Ryder clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms. It won't break. Will not give them this joy. The phone vibrated in my pocket. He pulled it out. Kane, eldest son. Ryder answered without thinking. Kane. The voice was hoarse, but he tried to sound even. Where are you? Dad, where are you? Kane's voice was harsh, almost angry. Mom called and said that you left, that you abandoned her. Ryder froze. Did you quit? Did she turn that way? Kane, listen to me, he began, but his son interrupted. She said that you wanted to leave us for a long time. Kane spoke quickly, as if he was blurting out a memorized text. That you were only pretending that you cared. This is true. What? Ryder jumped up, his heart pounding. No, Kane, this is nonsense. I never. Then why aren't you home now? The son's voice broke. Mom is crying, Levy too. But you are not there. You ran away, right? I didn't run away, Ryder barked. It's her. She's with Declan. Kane, you don't know everything. I know you left, Kane snapped. Mom said you don't value us. That we are a burden to you. You always complained that we needed a lot of money, and I believe her. Ryder opened his mouth, but the words stuck. Amber turned them against him. His own sons. Kane, who always looked at him with pride when he taught him how to hold a hammer. Levy, who hugged him every night before bed. Yes, he talked about money, but in fact he was joking. He himself was ashamed that he could not always give everything they wanted, but he tried and worked hard like a horse, and now they think he abandoned them. Kane, son, that's a lie. He lowered his voice, trying to get through. I love you. You and Levy are all I have. Don't call me again, Kane hung up. The beeps hit my ears like gunshots. Ryder threw the phone onto the dock. The screen was cracked, but he didn't care. He fell to his knees, clutching his hair. Amber didn't just betray him, she took his children. She knew how this would kill him. She knew that he lived for them, and used it as a weapon. Bitch, he blurted out. He hit the boards of the pier with his fist, once, twice. This pain was better than the one that was tearing through my chest. He stood up, wiped his face with his sleeve, and walked to the pickup truck. Something had to be done. He couldn't just sit here and drown in this shit. Parents. Gus and Maeve lived 10 miles from the lake, in an old house on the outskirts. They have always been his support, stern but reliable. Ryder started the engine and rushed there. Maybe they'll understand. Maybe they will help and tell you what to do right. The journey to my parents took less than half an hour. He parked on their porch, where the same bench where he smoked his first cigarettes still stood. The lights in the windows were on, they were at home. Ryder knocked on the door, trying to control himself. Who's there? Gus's voice rang out, low and hoarse. It's me, Dad, Ryder answered, opening the door. Can I come in? Gus stood in the living room, wearing an old plaid shirt and holding a mug of coffee. Maeve came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands with a towel. Both looked at him, and Ryder immediately realized that something was wrong. Their faces were tense, their lips pursed. Ryder, Maeve frowned. What are you doing here at this time? I need to talk. He stepped inside, closing the door. It's about Amber. What again? Gus put the mug on the table and crossed his arms. Did you have a fight? We didn't have a fight. Ryder clenched his fists, his voice trembling. She's with Declan. I caught them today, in our bedroom. She wants a divorce. Maeve gasped, covering her mouth with her hand. Gus narrowed his eyes, but didn't say anything. Silence hung like a cloud before a thunderstorm. And what do you want from us? Gus finally asked, looking into his eyes. What do I want? Ryder blinked. Support, Dad. Counsel. I don't know what to do. She turned Kane and Levy against me, told them I abandoned them. Where were you when she did this? Maeve stepped forward, her voice became sharp. Why aren't you at home, not fighting for your family? Struggling? He almost shouted. She threatened the cops, Mom. She said she would blame me if I didn't leave. And Declan, he stood there grinning like I was nothing. Maybe you gave her a reason. Gus shook his head. We told you, Ryder, back when you were just hooking up with her. Take your time, build a career, think about the future. What about you? Immediately a family, children, a house. And here is the result. Ryder looked at his father, not believing his ears. Occasion? Is it his fault? Are you serious? His voice became low, dangerous. She sleeps with my friend, and you tell me that I deserve it. We're not saying that he deserved it. Maeve raised her hands, but there was condemnation in her tone. But you indulged her too much. She always turned you around the way she wanted, but you didn't see it, or didn't want to see. I trusted her. Ryder barked. What is this, a crime? I worked hard so that we could have everything. For her, for the boys. And now she threw me out. The kids hate me, and here you are lecturing me. Don't yell at your mother. Gus stepped towards him. We warned you. Amber was not the kind of girl to build everything with her so quickly. But you chose it without listening to our advice. And where are you now? Ryder stepped back as if he had been hit. His parents, who taught him to keep his word and be a man, now poked his nose into the past. He remembered those conversations, Gus grumbling that he should go to college and not get married so early. Maeve whispered that Amber was too capricious, but he loved her, and I thought that family was the most important thing. And now they looked at him like he was a loser. So it's my fault, he nodded, his voice becoming cold. Great. Thanks for your support. Ryder, wait. Maeve reached out to him, but he had already turned to the door. No need, he said over his shoulder. I'll figure it out myself. He left, slamming the door so hard that the old frame shook. The pickup was waiting for him, and he sat behind the wheel, gripping it until his fingers hurt. Kane, Levy, the parents all turned away. Amber didn't just ruin their marriage. She poisoned everything he built. He remembered how Kane had looked at him with admiration when they were fixing the old bicycle. The way Levy hugged him when he came home from his shift. And now they believe that he betrayed them, that he is a weakling who abandoned his family. Amber knew how to catch them, Kane with his teenage anger, Levy with his gentleness. She probably said that Dad left because they weren't good enough, that he was tired of them. This was her weapon, a lie, sharp as a knife. Ryder started the engine. Crockett Lake was left behind, and so were my parents. He was driving to nowhere, but a plan was already spinning in his head. He won't give up. He won't let them break him. They will still find out who he is. Ryder Colt drove his pickup truck down the highway away from his parents' house, leaving behind their old house, their reproaches, their cold glances. The '85 Ford engine roared like a wounded animal, and the headlights revealed only dust and sparse bushes from the darkness. After Lake Crockett, after the conversation with Kane, after Gus and Maeve, he felt like a boxer who was beaten from all sides, but he was still standing. Anger was boiling in my chest, but now something else was mixed with it, emptiness. The family he lived for turned out to be a mirage. He pulled over to the side of the road, turned off the engine, and grabbed the phone. The screen cracked after being thrown on the pier, but it worked. The fingers hovered over the name Owen. Younger brother, last hope. Owen was not like his parents. He never read lectures, did not interfere in his life. Ryder dialed the number, pressing the receiver to his ear. Hello? Owen's voice was sleepy, slightly hoarse. The clock showed almost midnight. Owen, it's me, Ryder spoke quickly, not allowing himself to change his mind. I need help. Ryder, what's happened? Owen coughed as if waking up. Where are you? It doesn't matter, he snapped. Listen, come to my house. Pack my things. Clothes, tools, everything in the garage. I won't go there myself. Wait, what do you mean, I won't go? Owen hesitated. Is Amber there? Did you have a fight? Just do it, Owen. Ryder's voice became harsh. I don't want to see her. And Declan too. They are together. I caught them today. The silence on the other end of the line was so long that Ryder thought the connection had been lost. Owen, are you listening? He barked. Yes, I hear. My brother coughed again. Damn, Ryder, I'm coming. What should you take? Everything that's mine. He squeezed the steering wheel with his free hand. Jacket, boots, toolbox, and a rifle from the closet in the garage. I'll meet you at the old motel just outside Lockhart. Bring it there. Okay? Owen sounded tense. Let's do it in an hour. Sit there. Ryder hung up the phone, started the pickup, and sped off to the Rusty Coyote Motel, a cheap place with a neon sign where he sometimes drank beer with the guys from the construction site. It was quiet, dark, and no one asked questions. He parked at the curb, turned off the headlights, and waited. Owen Colt started up his old Dodge, glancing at the sleeping house. He was 32, 5 years younger than Ryder, and he had always lived a simpler life. He worked as a mechanic in a local workshop, rented an apartment in Lockhart, and did not start a family. Ryder was an example for him. Strong, reliable, the one who pulled everyone along. But now his brother's voice on the phone sounded like he was being crushed. The drive to Ryder's house took 15 minutes. He parked on the porch, noticing the light in the bedroom. So Amber is home. Owen climbed out of the car, clutching a list in his head. Jacket, boots, tools, rifle. He knocked on the door loudly, sharply. Who's there? Amber's voice came from inside, sleepy, but with a hint of irritation. Owen, open up. He knocked again. The door swung open. Amber stood in a robe, her hair disheveled, her eyes narrowed. A silhouette flashed behind her. Declan, wearing only pants, lazily sipped beer from a can. What do you want? Amber crossed her arms. It's night outside. Ryder scented. Owen stepped inside without asking permission. I'm getting his things. Oh, how sweet, she grinned, and there was a poisonous mockery in her voice. Is he now collecting his dirty clothes through you? Come on your own? Shut up, Amber. Owen walked past her to the closet in the hallway. Where is his jacket? Don't be rude to me. She grabbed his sleeve, her voice becoming sharp. Or I'll call Ryder and tell him what you knew about me and Declan. Do you think he will be happy? Owen froze. His face darkened and his eyes narrowed. He slowly turned to her. Are you threatening me? His voice was low, dangerous. Do you think I'm afraid of you? And I should. Amber straightened up, grinning. He'll find out that you were silent while I was having fun with Declan. So what then? Your brother will kill you. You know what? Owen stepped so close to her that she retreated. You're scum, Amber. Always was. I was silent because he loved you like a blind puppy. And you stuck a knife in his back. So go to your Declan and don't bother me. Hey, take it easy. Declan put the can on the table and walked over. Don't yell at her. Shut up, you bastard. Owen pointed a finger at him. Called a friend. Do you even understand what you've done? It's his own fault, Declan shrugged. I couldn't cope with it, but I managed. Owen clenched his fists, but held back. He turned around, grabbed Ryder's jacket from the closet, and walked into the garage. A toolbox stood against the wall, heavy, iron, covered in scratches. The rifle hung in the closet, an old Remington that Ryder cleaned every fall. Owen gathered everything up, threw it in the trunk of the Dodge, and went back to get his boots. Amber stood in the doorway, watching. Tell your brother that he's pathetic, she said finally. Runs like a rat instead of fighting. I'll tell you that you're a call woman, bitch. Owen slammed the door and left. Ryder was sitting on the hood of a pickup truck outside the motel when the Dodge's headlights illuminated him. Owen parked nearby, got out of the car, and threw his bag of things at his brother's feet. It's all here, he said, wiping his hands on his jeans. Jacket, boots, tools, rifle. Amber is at home, Declan is with her. Still there. Together. Ryder nodded, picking up his bag. His face was stony, but his eyes were burning. How is she? He asked without looking at his brother. Mocking, Owen spat on the ground. She said you were pathetic, that he ran away. Declan supported her. They are there, as if nothing had happened, drinking beer. They're drinking beer, Ryder repeated, and his voice trembled. In my house. In my kitchen. Yes, Owen hesitated, looking away. Ryder, I need to tell you something. Speak. He threw the bag into the back of the pickup truck and turned to his brother. Owen sighed and rubbed his hand on his neck. His voice became quieter. I knew, he began, about Amber and Declan. It's been 6 months already. I saw them once in a bar, then again at the store. They weren't hiding much, but I was silent. Ryder froze. His gaze pierced Owen like a knife. Did you know? He asked quietly. 6 months? Yes, Owen nodded, not looking away. I didn't interfere because you loved her. Crazy. You wouldn't believe me, Ryder. Or worse, I would go to her, and she would turn it all on you. I didn't want to ruin your family. Destroy my family? Ryder stepped towards him, his voice breaking into a scream. It's already destroyed, Owen. They did it under my nose, and you were silent? You are my brother. I thought you could handle it. Owen stepped back. You always manage. I didn't want to be the one to tell you that. Can I handle it? Ryder grabbed him by the collar of his shirt and pulled him towards him. Kane and Levy think I abandoned them. Amber took my house, and you knew and remained silent like a coward. I'm sorry, Owen didn't resist, looking into his eyes. I screwed up, but I didn't mean anything worse to you. Ryder pushed him so that Owen almost fell. He turned around, kicked the pickup truck's tire, then again. Anger burst out like steam from a cauldron. What kind of family do I have? He growled, looking into the darkness. The wife is a woman of easy virtue. Friend is scum. My parents blame me. The kids hate me. And brother hides his head in the sand. Some kind of nightmare. Ryder, Owen began, but he waved his hand. That's enough, he snapped. Leave. I don't want to see you. Owen stood there for a second, then nodded, got into the Dodge, and drove off. The headlights disappeared around the bend, leaving Ryder alone. He opened the back, threw a bag inside, then another one with a rifle. Everything that was left of his life now fit here in a rusty pickup truck that he repaired with his own hands. He got behind the wheel, started the engine, and pulled away from Lockhart. The highway stretched forward, endless, empty. An hour later, he stopped at a gas station, a small one with a crooked Texaco sign, came out and went inside. Behind the counter stood a skinny guy in his 20s, chewing gum. "Do you have any bourbon?" Ryder asked, throwing a 10 on the counter. "Yeah," the guy nodded and took out a bottle of Jim Beam from under the counter. "Plastic bag?" "No need." Ryder took the bottle and left. He sat on the hood of the pickup truck, unscrewed the cap, and took a sip. The liquid burned his throat, but he didn't wince. The stars overhead shone, cold, distant. There was emptiness inside him, black, like the sky. Ryder finished his drink, threw the empty bottle into the darkness, and heard it break on the rocks somewhere in the distance. The stars above the Texaco gas station looked at him coldly, without an answer. He wiped his mouth with his sleeve, feeling the alcohol burn his throat, but not his head. The anger inside was stronger than any whiskey. Amber, Declan, Kane, Levy, his parents, Owen, all of them, like a pack of wolves, were tearing his life apart. He got into his Ford, slamming the door so hard that rust fell from the hinges. The key turned in the ignition, the engine roared, and the pickup sped down the highway away from Lockhart. Where? He didn't think about it. Just go ahead. The road stretched on like an endless ribbon, and the headlights caught only dust and rare signs. An hour later, he saw the lights of the neighboring town of Blackstone, 40 miles from home. The place is small, but with a motel, a bar, and a couple of streets where no one would pry into your business. Ryder turned toward the Silver Horseshoe Motel, a cheap hole with a neon sign where half the letters were out. He parked at the entrance, grabbed a bag of things and a rifle that Owen had brought from the garage. The inside smelled of dampness and cigarettes. An old man with a bald head and an anchor tattoo on his arm sat behind the counter. "Is there a room?" Ryder said, putting the 20 on the counter. "Yes," the old man nodded, without looking at him. "Number 7. Take the key. The bathroom is at the end of the corridor." "Great." Ryder took the key and went to the room. The door creaked, the bed sagged, but he didn't care. He threw the bag on the floor, leaned the rifle against the wall, and plopped down on the mattress. The silence was oppressive, but he could not sleep. My thoughts were spinning like the wheels of a pickup truck. The phone was lying nearby. Ryder took it and scrolled through the contacts. I should have called Buck. The foreman was a stern but honest man, one of those who does not abandon his own. In the morning, Ryder dialed the number, pressing the receiver to his ear. "Colt." Buck's voice was hoarse, as if he had just smoked a cigar. "Why the hell are you calling so early? Just don't say that you have a cold." "Buck, I have problems." Ryder spoke briefly, without sentiment. "I left Lockhart. I'm looking for a place to settle. I will not return to the construction site. Find someone to take my place." "Wait, what do you mean, left?" Buck coughed. "You're my best hard worker, Ryder." "What's happened?" "Amber." He clenched his jaw. The word came out like a shot. "I found her with Declan. My friend, motherfucker. She wants a divorce. She turned the boys against me. The family fell apart. I can't stay there." The silence on the other end of the line was heavy. Then Buck cursed. "Damn, Colt, this is crap." His voice became harsh. "Declan, the one from the army, who worked hard at our construction site for a couple of months. When did he return?" "Yes, he is." Ryder nodded, although Buck couldn't see. "Now he works at a car dealership. He's important, his mother." "Bastard," Buck spat, judging by the sound. "And you just left? That's not your style, Ryder. You are a man, not a wimp." "She threatened the cops." He clenched his fist. "She said she'll blame me if I don't leave." And Declan stood there grinning. "I couldn't stay, Buck." "We can't leave it like this." Buck raised his voice. "They trampled you, but what about you? Are you leaving and staying silent? If I were you, I'd break Declan's jaw." "I hit him." Ryder smiled bitterly. "Once. Few. But I'll find a way, Buck. They will regret it." "This is a conversation." Buck chuckled. Listen, this Declan. I remember him bragging once in a bar. The guys and I were drinking, and he was talking about the car dealership. He said that he was making some deals, pushing cars for cheap. Then I thought, he's probably lying. But now. What is now? Ryder straightened up. His voice became sharp. And now I think he wasn't just lying. Buck lowered his voice. If he's cheating, you can dig up there. I have a couple of friends in Blackstone who are in the auto business. I can ask what and how. Are you serious? Ryder felt something click inside. The first spark. Seriously, Buck was adamant. This cannot be left unpunished, Colt. Give me a couple of days. I'll figure it out. I'll call you back. Don't doubt it. If he's in shit, I'll bring it to light. Thank you, Buck. Ryder nodded. I appreciate it. You're welcome, Buck coughed again. You hang in there and find yourself a place where you can get your head in order. I'll take care of this bastard. Agreed, Ryder hung up and leaned back on the bed. The anger was still simmering, but now there was something else mixed in with it, a plan. Was Declan bragging about fake deals? If this is true, he will pay for it. Buck was a man of his word. If he said he would find it, then he would find it. Ryder stood up and went to the window. Behind the glass is a dark motel parking lot, a couple of cars, the light of a street lamp. He felt like an animal in a cage. Buck hung up, rubbed his temples, and lit a cigar. He sat in his small apartment above the garage, which always smelled of oil and tobacco. The foreman was a man of the old school, 55 years old, scars on his hands from construction, a voice like sandpaper. Ryder was one of his best. Not just a hard worker, a man with character, and Buck took what they did to him as a personal insult. Declan, you son of a bitch, he muttered, exhaling smoke. He remembered that evening at the Coyote Bar. Declan, in his stupid leather jacket, was blabbering about how he sold 3 cars in a week at below market price. I have connections, he said, grinning. Buck then laughed to himself, what nonsense. But now it didn't seem like a joke. He put out his cigar, grabbed the phone, and dialed Joe, an old friend from Blackstone who owned an auto repair shop and knew everyone in the auto business. Joe, this is Buck, he began when he answered. Are you sleeping? Damn, Buck, it's so early. Joe's voice was sleepy. What do you need? There's a point, Buck spoke briefly. Remember Declan? Tall, with a scar on his eyebrow, he worked at the Blackstone Motors dealership. Yeah, I know, Joe yawned. He's such an idiot. What's wrong with him? He set up my boyfriend. Buck clenched his jaw. He bragged that he was messing up the deal. Maybe fake. Dig me something. I need to know what he's up to. Seriously? Joe chuckled. Okay, the morning can wait. I have a couple of guys who work with the salon. I'll ask. But it's not free, Buck. I'll pay, he snapped. Just find it. Agreed, Joe hung up. Buck leaned back in his chair, looking at the ceiling. He'll find out what Declan has gotten himself into, and then he will call Ryder. This bastard will answer. Ryder Colt woke up at the Silver Horseshoe Motel to a knock on the door. The mattress creaked under him, his back arched, but he sat up abruptly. Alcohol gave him a couple of hours of sleep yesterday, but no peace. The anger still smoldered inside like the coals of a fire. Who's there? He barked, his voice hoarse from the night. It's me, the old man from the reception, came from behind the door. Your phone has been ringing for 20 minutes. Your neighbors are complaining. Pick up the damn phone. Ryder relaxed his shoulders as he grabbed his phone and opened the door. The old man with the anchor tattoo stood with a sour expression. My apologies. Ryder took the phone and pressed it to his ear, and the old man walked away. Buck? Colt, where the hell are you? Buck's voice was cheerful, despite the morning. I've decided everything. Declan is in deep shit. Ryder straightened up, his heart beating faster. What did you find? Listen, Buck spoke quickly, as if he couldn't help himself. My homie Joe dug up in Blackstone. Declan was making bad deals at the car dealership. He sold cars with kickbacks, forged documents, and took cash past the cash register. Joe has call records and a couple of receipts. I forwarded this to his boss anonymously via email. They'll see it by lunchtime today. This bastard is going to go out with a bang. Seriously? Ryder squeezed the phone. And what next? Further, Buck chuckled. His boss is a tough guy. He can't stand thieves. He'll fire Declan to hell, and at the same time turn him over to the cops. It's not just a job anymore, Colt. The prison is shining there. Ryder nodded, although Buck couldn't see. For the first time in days, something other than rage stirred in my chest satisfaction. First victory. Thanks, Buck, he said. You're a man. You're welcome, Buck coughed. Keep me informed of where you are going, and don't get lost. I won't be lost, Ryder hung up. He collected his things, jacket, boots, rifle, and went out to the pickup truck. The engine roared, and he sped away from Blackstone north. The road was waiting, and he knew that soon Declan would know what it was like to fall. A week later, Ryder checked into the Red Hawk Motel, 60 miles from Lockhart. He drove along the highway, spending the night in cheap holes, washed in cold showers, and gave his back a break from the endless drive. The phone remained silent until it vibrated in his pocket in the morning as he drank coffee from a plastic cup. Colt, this is Buck. The foreman's voice sounded triumphant. Everything worked. Declan was thrown out of the dealership yesterday. The boss called the cops, they searched his desk and found fake papers. He lost his job, his car was repossessed for debt, his reputation is in shambles. There are rumors that he faces a couple of years behind bars. Ryder placed the glass on the hood of the pickup truck, looking at the road. He introduced Declan without his leather jacket, without a grin, with his hands in handcuffs. And he smiled. Not wide, but cold. Great, he said. Let it rot. That's not all, Buck chuckled. Amber is shocked. Joe heard from his family that she ran to the salon, yelling at Declan, and he sent her. Without his money, she's broke. Okay, Ryder clenched his jaw. It's time to add some fun to her. He said goodbye to Buck, got into the pickup truck, and dialed an old friend, Tom, who worked at a bank in Lockhart. Tom was quiet but reliable. They had fished together 10 years ago. Tom, this is Ryder, he began when he answered. Colt, damn, I haven't heard from you for a long time. Tom's voice was surprised. Where are you? It doesn't matter, he snapped. Listen, I need a favor. Amber still uses my old credit card, right? The second account that I opened for her. Well, yes, Tom hesitated. She called a couple of times and asked to raise the limit, but I said that you didn't sign. Great, Ryder spoke quickly. Block her. Say there is an error in the system. Let him hang without money. You are sure? Tom coughed. This will make her angry. I'm sure, Ryder's voice became icy. Do it. Okay, Tom sighed. It will be ready in an hour. Ryder hung up and started the engine. He knew Amber would explode, and I was waiting for this. Amber stood in the kitchen of Ryder's house, which she now considered her own. Declan is in prison, and, as it turned out, his love was limited only to free sex about the great noodles on her ears. Without a job, without a car, he was no longer the man she had chosen, and now he was also facing prison. The phone vibrated bank. She replied, hoping for good news. Mrs. Colt, the operator's voice was dry. Your credit card is blocked. Error in the system. We are working on this, but for now the account is frozen. What? Amber raised her voice. What the hell? I have all the money there. Find out now. We are trying, the operator was adamant. It will take time. She hung up, throwing the phone on the table. Panic grew. Without Declan, without a credit card, she was left with empty pockets. Kane and Levy were at school, but they would be back soon, and there was almost no food left in the house. She grabbed the phone again and dialed Ryder. Hello? His voice was cold as steel. Ryder, what are you doing? She screamed. My card is blocked. It's you, right? Maybe, he spoke slowly, enjoying every word. Karma, Amber. Get used to it. You can't do this to me. Her voice broke. What about the children? I need money. You chose it yourself. He cut her off. Live with it. Ryder, please. She began, but the beeps were already ringing in her ear. He hung up. Amber fell into a chair, clutching her hair. Her world was falling apart. Declan is in shit. Ryder is taking revenge. There is no money. She knew something had to be done. Later after school, 2 hours later, Kane and Levy were sitting in the living room of Gus and Maeve's grandfather. Amber brought them here without warning, throwing their bags on the porch. Your son ran away, she told Ryder's parents, standing in the doorway. A coward instead of fighting for the family. Now I have to work more, and there is no one to look after them. Take a look. Amber, what are you doing? Gus stepped toward her, his voice low. These are your children, and he abandoned them, she barked. I can't do it alone. You kicked him out yourself. Maeve crossed her arms. We all know. Declan spends the night at your house, right? It's none of your business. Amber turned around and left, slamming the door. Kane and Levy sat on the couch, listening to the screams. Kane clenched his fists. Levy looked at the floor. She's lying, right? Levy asked quietly, looking at his grandfather. Didn't Dad leave us? Gus sighed and rubbed his temples. Son, it's complicated. Mom said he doesn't love us. Kane raised his head, his voice trembling. But she's hiding something. I heard her arguing with someone on the phone about money. Don't believe everything she says. Maeve sat down next to her, putting her hand on Levy's shoulder. We'll figure it out. The door opened and Owen walked in with a bag of groceries. He glanced at the children, then at the parents. What is this here? He asked, putting the bag on the table. Amber brought them. Gus nodded at the boys. She left and left. Fucking bitch. Owen shook his head. Okay, I'll help. Here's the money. He pulled out a wad of bills from his pocket and placed it in front of Gus. For the boys, food, clothes, whatever you need. But don't give her a dime. Let her handle her own shit. Thank you, son, Maeve nodded. Where is Ryder? I don't know, Owen shrugged. Left. And I don't blame him. Kane got up and went to the window. I want to talk to Dad, he said quietly. Levy nodded. Me too. The rider was driving along the highway, the wind hitting the open window of the pickup truck. He stopped at another motel, the Gold Dust Motel, 100 miles from Lockhart. He understood that he couldn't drive forever, he couldn't run out of money, and it was time to pull himself together. He's a man and running is not an option, and you can't run away from yourself. He was tired of motels, cold showers, and the endless road. It was time to stop. Colorado appeared on the horizon mountains, forests, air smelling of pine trees. Ryder turned into a town called Spring Creek, 200 miles from Lockhart. The place was quiet. A couple of streets, a bar, a sawmill, people who said hello and didn't bother me. He parked at a gas station, went out to stretch his legs, and decided, stop running. Here he will start again. Is there a room? He said to the woman behind the counter at the Pine Country Motel, throwing a 20 on the counter. Yes, she nodded, chewing gum. 10th, take the key, shower in the room. Great, Ryder took the key, threw the bag on the bed, and collapsed next to him. The rifle remained in the pickup. He didn't yet know if it would be needed here. But I couldn't sleep. He had to work, keep his hands busy so that his thoughts wouldn't eat him alive. In the morning, he walked around the city, asking about part-time jobs. At the Old Pine Bar, the bartender, a healthy man with a beard, nodded to the advertisement. The sawmill is looking for people, he said, pouring Ryder some coffee. The pay is not great, but there is work. Asked Ted. Thank you. Ryder finished his coffee and rushed there. The sawmill was humming the smell of tar, the screeching of saws, men in helmets carrying logs. Ted, the foreman, was skinny but wiry, with a voice like a train whistle. Did you work at a construction site? He asked, looking over Ryder. Yes, he nodded. 20 years, hands in place. Okay, Ted patted him on the shoulder. Start today. $5 an hour, cash by evening. Ryder nodded and got down to business. I carried boards, loaded them into trucks, and sweated until my back hurt. The work was exhausting, but it kept my head clear. He did everything, mended fences, unloaded cars, even helped out at the bar when the bartender needed a day off. Revenge burned him, but did not give him peace. He pondered what to do next, sitting on the motel porch with a beer, looking at the mountains. A week later, he was noticed by Paul, the director of the sawmill. A strong man of about 50, with gray temples and a look that saw right through people. He walked over while Ryder was loading the boards into the back. "You're Colt, right?" Paul asked, crossing his arms. "Yes," Ryder straightened up, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Is something wrong?" "On the contrary," Paul nodded. "Ted says you work like an ox. You don't drink at work, you don't talk. I need these. There is a permanent position, a carpenter. We pay normally, we provide housing, a shed near the forest. Come in and repair it for yourself. Are you taking it?" Ryder looked at him for a second. "Constant work. House. A chance to get back on your feet." "I'll take it," he said, holding out his hand. Paul shook it tightly. "You'll start tomorrow," he said and left. Ryder moved in the next day. The shed was old, but strong, one room, stove, porch. He repaired the roof, painted the walls, hauled boards from the sawmill. For the first time in months, he had a place to lie down and not think about the road. But the emptiness still gnawed, until the phone rang. "Dad?" Kane's voice was quiet, trembling. Ryder froze, holding the phone. "Kane?" He clenched his jaw. "How are you?" "Sorry, Dad," Kane spoke quickly, as if he was afraid that he would be interrupted. "I was a jerk. Mom told Levy and me all sorts of things, but I believed it. She said you abandoned us, that you don't care. But that's not true, right?" Ryder sat on the porch, his heart pounding. His boy, his eldest. "No, son." His voice was firm, but soft. "This is a lie. I didn't leave you. It was her. She kicked me out. I left because I couldn't stay there. She threatened the police. But I love you. You and Levy are my boys." Kane sobbed. "I knew she was lying. She screamed at my grandfather when she brought us to them. She said you were a coward, but I heard her screaming on the phone about money, and Levy cried and said that he wanted to come to you. Is Levy there?" Ryder squeezed the phone tighter. "Yes," Kane coughed. "Wait, Levi, come here." A rustle, then the voice of the younger one. "Dad?" "Levi," Ryder smiled, despite the lump in his throat. "Are you okay?" "I'm sorry, Dad." Levy began to cry. "I thought you didn't love us. Mom said you left because you don't love us anymore. I didn't want to believe her, but—" Hey, Ryder interrupted him. "I left because she made a choice. Not because of you, never because of you. We want to come to you." Kane took the phone back. "Grandfather and grandmother take care of us, but Mom, she doesn't come. We heard Owen say she was drinking. Dad, take us." Ryder clenched his fists. His sons cried, asked for the truth, and Amber abandoned them like garbage. But he couldn't just rush to Lockhart until he was back on his feet. "Listen, boys," he said firmly. "I'm settling here in Colorado. There is work, there is housing. As soon as I get everything set up, I'll figure out how to pick you up. I promise. You are my sons, and I will not leave you." "Is it true?" Levy sobbed. "True," Ryder nodded. "Hang in there. I'll call you soon." "We love you, Dad," Kane said, and the phone went silent. Ryder put the phone down, looking at the mountains. His boys wanted him. Amber lost them, and he will do anything to take them. Amber was sitting at a bar in Lockhart, her third glass of whiskey in front of her. Her hair was greasy, her dress was wrinkled, her eyes were red. Without a credit card, without Declan, with debts for the house, she was sliding lower and lower. She found a job as a cashier in a store, but half the money was spent on drinking. Children, she didn't see them for 2 weeks. She blamed them on Gus and Maeve and didn't call. "One more," she said to the bartender, throwing a crumpled 5 on the bar. "Amber, maybe that's enough." The bartender, Fat Jim, shook his head. "You're already unsteady." "Shut up and pour it," she snapped. Jim sighed and splashed his whiskey. She drank in one gulp, feeling how everything was spinning. She made the wrong choice. And the children, she didn't want to think about them. They reminded her of what she had lost, or threw it away. "I'll be back," she muttered, sliding out of her chair. Everyone will regret it. She left, staggering, and walked home. Ryder stood on the porch of his shed, looking at the sunset. Work at the sawmill was going on. He repaired machines, sawed boards, and earned money. Paul was pleased. The men respected her. But a call from Kane and Levy changed everything. He must take them. Amber drank, left them, and that was the last straw. He took out his phone and dialed Owen. "Owen, it's me," he began when his brother answered. "Ryder?" Owen's voice was surprised. "Where are you?" "Colorado," he spoke briefly. "Listen, Kane and Levy called. They want to come to me." Amber doesn't think with her head at all. She left them. What if social services find out? "Yes," Owen sighed. "She drinks like hell. She brought them to her parents and dumped them. I give Gus the money for them, but I haven't seen her." "Okay," Ryder nodded. "Keep them there. I'll figure out how to pick it up soon." "I'll do it," Owen hesitated. "Sorry again for being silent." "Forget it," Ryder said and hung up. Ryder stood on the porch of his Spring Creek shed, watching the sun set over the Colorado mountains. The phone was still warm in my hand after calling Owen, and the voices of Kane and Levy echoed in my head. They wanted to come to him, and he promised to take them. Working at the sawmill provided money. The barn became a home, but there was still a gaping hole inside. Amber was falling into the abyss, and he felt a grim satisfaction, but it was not enough. He was rebuilding his life, and now he had to return to his sons. It was a tough day at the sawmill. The saw broke, and we had to carry logs by hand while Ted yelled at everyone. By evening, his back was aching, his arms were aching, but Ryder held on. Paul, the director, tapped him on the shoulder when his shift ended. "Colt, you're like a tractor today," he said, grinning. "Let's go to the bar. The guys are calling. Have a couple of beers and relax." "I don't know, Paul." Ryder wiped sweat from his forehead. "I'm tired." "Come on," Ted intervened, taking off his helmet. "One evening won't kill you. The beer at the bar is cold, and the girl behind the counter is on fire. Let's go, Ryder." Ryder shrugged. "Maybe it really was worth turning off your head for at least an hour." He nodded, got into the pickup truck, and drove after the guys. The bar was in the center of Spring Creek Wooden, with a neon sign in the shape of a howling beast. Voices were buzzing inside, and there was a smell of beer and fried potatoes. Paul, Ted, and a couple of other guys from the sawmill took a table by the window, waving to Ryder. "Sit down, Colt," Ted shouted, raising his mug. "The first is at my expense." Ryder plopped down on a chair and took the beer that Paul pushed him. The cold flowed down my throat, removing the heaviness of the day. The guys were chatting about work, about how Ted almost dropped a log on the newbie's foot, and Ryder even chuckled a couple of times. But thoughts still revolved around Kane and Levy. We had to figure out how to pick them up. "Hey, Ryder, where are you?" Paul nudged him with his elbow. "Relax, otherwise you're sitting like an old man." "I think," he said, taking a sip, "children are in my head." "Children?" Ted narrowed his eyes. "Do you have any boys?" "Yes, two," Ryder nodded. "Kane and Levy, 16 and 13. Now with my parents, but I want them here." "Where is their mother?" Paul asked, leaning back in his chair. "Mother." Ryder squeezed the mug. "She left them. He drinks and falls apart." He did not share details about how she cruelly betrayed him. He was probably even ashamed to talk about what a fool he was and allowed a woman to control his life. "Damn, Colt," Ted shook his head. "Tough. But you're a man. You'll take them." "I'll take it," Ryder nodded. "You just need time." "Well, let's drink to that." Paul raised his mug. "For your boys." The men clinked glasses and buzzed. The beer flowed, the conversations flowed, and Ryder felt the tension release. He finished his mug and stood up. "I'll go get some more," he said, walking towards the counter. It was Sage who stood behind the counter. Tall, with short dark hair, slightly disheveled, and eyes like a cat's green, sharp. On the wrist is a tattoo of a wolf, black, with a grin. She wiped the glass, giving Ryder a quick glance. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice low, with a slight hoarseness. "Beer," he said, placing the empty mug on the counter. Will it be, if there is? Yes, she nodded, pouring from the tap. The foam hissed and flowed down the glass. You're new here, right? Yes. Ryder took the mug and took a sip. A week like in Spring Creek. A worker from a sawmill. She chuckled, crossing her arms. I see it in your hands. Scars, calluses, not an office boy. I guessed right, he chuckled. Are you local? Born here, Sage shrugged. She left and came back. I run a bar with my father, but he sleeps more than he works. It's noticeable. Ryder nodded towards the empty counter. Are you the only one dragging everyone along? I'm used to it. She smiled at the corner of her lips. People drink, I pour it. Simple life. Ryder looked at her more closely. She wasn't a cover girl, she had a sharp face and a hooked nose, but there was something about her. Strength, independence, and a sharp tongue that caught you. My name is Ryder, he said, holding out his hand. Sage, she shook it tightly, her fingers warm. Like a she-wolf, yes. Don't joke about it, otherwise I'll throw beer on you. I won't, he chuckled. I like wolves. Good taste, she winked, putting away the empty glass. Should I pour more? That's enough for now, Ryder nodded towards the table. The guys are waiting. Run, Sage waved her hand. He returned to the table, feeling her gaze on his back. Paul noticed and tapped him on the shoulder. Are you already chatting with Sage? He laughed. Hurry up, Colt. I just had a beer, Ryder shrugged, but the corners of his lips twitched. A spark flashed light, but real, and he felt uneasy, but that's not what he thought. The night dragged on. The men were drinking and joking, and Ryder sat a little quieter than usual. Sage flashed behind the bar, pouring beer, throwing barbs at the drunken regulars, laughing a low, hoarse laugh. He found himself looking at her more often than necessary. Maybe it's just hormones, he thought, stress, and so much time for a healthy man without sex. Yes, most likely that's the problem. Hey, Colt, are you with us? Ted pushed him. Or is Sage already in your head? Fuck off, Ryder chuckled, finishing his beer. I'm just thinking. Yeah, he thinks, Paul laughed. Okay, it's time to go home. Tomorrow the saw is waiting. Ryder nodded and stood up. The men dispersed, but he lingered at the counter. Sage was wiping down the bar, glancing at him. What, you're not leaving? She asked, without looking up from her work. Soon, he said. Just. A nice evening. There haven't been any like this for a long time. I'm glad to help. She straightened up and smiled. You're not a talker, Ryder. That's a plus. And you have a sharp tongue, he nodded at the tattoo. Wolf. Yes, Sage ran her finger over the drawing. Beautiful. Ryder looked into her eyes for a second longer than necessary. Good night, Sage. And you, she waved her hand. He got out, got into a pickup truck, and drove to the shed. The night was quiet, the mountains darkened on the horizon. Sage stayed in her head, not intrusively, but tenaciously. He was not looking for anything new, but something warmed her. Maybe just a conversation. Maybe more. Ryder Colt woke up in the shed to the sound of the wind that hummed through the cracks of the old walls. The coffee was sizzling on the stove as he sat on the porch, looking out over the Spring Creek mountains. The night at the Coyote Bar left a mark. Sage's voice, her sharp gaze, and the wolf tattoo still flashed through her head. But the call from Kane and Levy did not give rest. They wanted to come to him, and he promised. The shed was strong, but cramped. One room, a stove, a creaky bed. It was enough for him, but not for his sons. They need a home. Real. He finished his coffee, threw the mug in the sink, and drove to the sawmill. The shift dragged on sawing boards, carrying logs, listening to Ted yelling at the newbie for his crooked hands. But my thoughts were not about work. By lunchtime, he had made up his mind. We need to talk to Paul. The director was stern, but fair. If anyone would help, it would be him. Ryder found him at the office. Paul was standing with a cigarette, looking at the truck with boards. Paul, can I see you? Ryder stepped towards him, wiping his hands on his jeans. Colt, what's wrong? Paul turned, exhaling smoke. Your face looks like the world has collapsed. It didn't collapse, Ryder clenched his jaw, but I need help. Borrowed money. I want to rent a house. It's normal. For my boys. Boys? Paul narrowed his eyes. Are you talking about your sons? Yes, he nodded. Cain and Levy. My parents have them now. My mother drinks them. She has no time for them. I promised to pick it up. And this barn. That's enough for me, and I'm grateful for it, but it's not for them. Paul took a drag, looking at Ryder for a second. Then he nodded. How much do you need? He asked, putting out his cigarette on his shoe. 2,000, Ryder spoke bluntly. For the first month and a deposit. I'll pay you back from your salary in parts. 2,000, Paul chuckled. Okay, I'll give it. You work like a beast, Colt. You won't let me down. But where will you look for housing? I don't know yet, Ryder shrugged. Maybe I'll ask around in the city. Listen here, Paul patted him on the shoulder. There is a house on the outskirts, by the river. Old Millie used to rent it out, but is now empty. 2 rooms, kitchen, porch. Inexpensive. Go and ask. And also, go to school and find out how to get the boys settled. The average one here is good. My daughter went there. School? Ryder nodded. Exactly, I didn't think about it at all. Thanks, Paul. You're welcome. Paul waved his hand. I'll give you the money tomorrow. Go to work. Ryder returned to the saw, but everything was boiling inside. House. School. This was the plan. He will soon take Cain and Levy, and they will start again. After his shift, he went to the city. Millie's house turned out to be small, but strong wooden walls, intact windows, the porch creaks, but holds up. An old woman, gray-haired, with a stick, opened the door. I heard you're a hard worker from the sawmill. Paul called me, she said, looking at him. Do you need a house? Yes, Ryder nodded. For me and my sons. How many? 600 a month. Millie pointed at the floor with a stick. The deposit is still 300. Do you know how to light a stove? I can. He smiled at the edge of his lips. Let's take it. Then come in, she waved her hand. I'll give you the key tomorrow. Ryder got into the pickup, feeling the weight lift. There is a house. Now school. He drove to Spring Creek High School, a brick building with a sign and a playground where boys kicked around a ball. The inside smelled of chalk and old desks. The secretary, a fat woman with glasses, raised her head. How can I help? She asked, chewing a cookie. I want to enroll my sons. Ryder stepped towards the counter. They are 16 and 13. They will move here soon. Fill out the papers. She handed him a stack of sheets. And talk to the director. He's in the office. Ryder took a pen and began to write names, ages, addresses. While he was busy, the door slammed and Sage walked into the hall. Next to her is a girl of about 8 years old, with dark pigtails and a backpack. Sage. Ryder straightened up, surprised. Ryder. She stopped and smiled. What are you doing here? I'm recording my sons. He nodded at the papers. And you? I'm taking her. Sage patted the girl on the head. This is Emma. Sister? He asked, looking at Emma. Sage laughed, low and husky. No, daughter. My daughter. Ryder blinked, but hid his surprise. I didn't expect it. Yes, she shrugged. Cool, he nodded, looking at Emma. The girl waved her hand at him. You're cute, she said, smiling. Mom's friend? Just an acquaintance for now, Ryder chuckled. Hello, Emma. Hey, she nudged Sage with her elbow. He's funny. I see, Sage looked at him, narrowing her eyes. Sons, then? How many are there? 2, he said. Cain and Levy. I want to take them here. Good luck with that. Ryder hesitated. Sage stood in front of him, witty, independent, with the same spark as yesterday at the bar. He clenched his fists and gathered his courage. Listen, he began. Tonight, after work, meet me at the bar. Let's walk and talk. Sage raised an eyebrow and was silent for a second. I don't know, Ryder. I have a lot to do. Mom, I'm spending the night at Kelly's tonight. Emma intervened, tugging at her sleeve. You will still be bored alone. Go for a walk. Ryder laughed, and so did Sage. Her laugh was warm, infectious. Well, since my daughter is in charge, she said, looking at him. Okay, At 8 at the bar. Don't be late. I won't be late, he nodded. See you in the evening. Bye. Sage waved her hand, leading Emma away. The girl turned around and winked. Ryder returned to the papers, smiling. The secretary cleared her throat. Hurry up, she muttered. The girl is not simple. It's noticeable, he said, finishing writing. Evening came quickly. Ryder washed himself in the shed, put on a clean shirt, and went to the Coyote. He parked at the bar at 8 o'clock sharp, got out, and saw her. Sage stood at the entrance. She noticed him and waved her hand. Hello, Carpenter, she said, stepping closer. Didn't run away. I keep my word, he smiled. Where are we going? Towards the river, she nodded towards the path. It's quiet there. Let's go. They walked along the street, then turned towards the shore. The water was noisy. The stars were reflected in the black surface. Sage spoke first. So what about your sons? She asked, looking ahead. Why aren't they with you, where your wife died? Ryder clenched his jaw, but answered. My wife found someone else, kicked me out, and told the children a bunch of nasty things. I left, and now she's drinking, and she took them to my parents as if they were a toy they could just be given to others. Hard, Sage nodded. I understand, she looked at him. Emma's father also ran away, left with a belly and a note, remember me. I'll definitely never forget. I did it. You can do it too. Already, Ryder nodded. I rented the house today. I'll pick them up soon. Well done, she smiled. I thought you were just drinking beer at a bar. Sometimes, he chuckled, but you've seen the best thing there. Sage stopped and looked at him. Be careful, Ryder. I'm not one to get hooked easily. I don't bother, he shrugged. I'm just saying. She laughed, stepping closer. Okay, Carpenter, let's see what happens. They walked on, chatting about trifles about the bar, about the mountains, about how Emma once caught a frog and brought it home. There was no romance, just two broken destinies walking side by side. Ryder Colt woke up as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the cracks in the walls. The night with Sage by the river was still warm, her voice, her laughter. But the call from Kane and Levy, their tears and requests to pick them up blocked everything. He rented a house from Millie, made arrangements with the school, and received money from Paul. It was time to go get our sons. He made coffee and drank it on the porch, looking out at the Colorado mountains. The sawmill was waiting, but he approached Paul before his shift. Paul, I need a weekend, he said, walking towards the office. 2 days. I'm going to pick up the boys. Paul looked up from his papers and squinted. It's high time. Take it, Colt. Thank you, Ryder nodded. I'm leaving tomorrow. Good luck. Paul waved his hand. And check the car, otherwise your Ford is older than me. Ryder chuckled, returned to the pickup, and climbed under the hood. Oil, candles, everything held up. He threw the bag into the back. Then he dialed Owen. Owen, it's me, he began when his brother answered. Ryder. Owen's voice was sleepy. Why are you calling? Tell the children to let them gather. Ryder spoke briefly. I'm going to pick up Kane and Levy. I'll be in Lockhart tomorrow. Tell your parents to get the boys ready. I'll just go to school first. Seriously. Owen coughed. Damn, finally. I'll tell you. They will be happy. Okay, Ryder nodded. See you tomorrow. He hung up, started the pickup, and drove home. The night passed quickly. He packed his things, checked Millie's house, left the key under the rug as agreed. In the morning, the Ford rushed south to Lockhart. The road stretched for 200 miles highways, dust, mountains giving way to plains. He did not turn on the radio, listening only to the engine and his thoughts. In the evening, having finished all his business at school, he drove up to his parents' house. The old house, with its peeling paint and bench on the porch, looked the same as the day he left in anger. The rider turned off the engine and got out of the pickup, but did not plan to go inside. Just pick up the boys and leave. But the door opened and Gus stepped onto the porch. Ryder, my father's voice was low, tired. Come in. It's not good, son. Mom prepared dinner. We need to talk. Dad, I don't want to. Ryder clenched his fists. Just give me Kane and Levy. No, Gus stepped closer. That's not how we raise our family. Come in. They are waiting. Ryder sighed but nodded. He followed his father into the house. It smelled like fried chicken and potatoes Maeve always made it when she wanted to make peace. Kane and Levy ran out of the corridor. Dad, Levy rushed to him and hugged him. Kane stood a little further away, but his eyes sparkled. Hi, guys. Ryder hugged Levy and patted Kane on the shoulder. Get ready after dinner. Let's go to my place. Is it true? Kane smiled. Cool. Go wash your hands. Maeve came out of the kitchen, wiping her palms on her apron. Sit down at the table. Dinner passed quietly. Chicken, potatoes, bread, everything is the same as before. Kane and Levy were chatting about school, how Levy caught a bug in the garden, and Kane was fixing his bike with Owen. Ryder ate in silence, feeling his parents' gazes. Owen sat across from him, picking at his food. The tension hung, but no one started. When the boys went into the room to pack their things, Maeve stood up. Ryder, she said quietly, shall we talk? Come on, he nodded, pushing the plate away. Gus coughed, looking at the table. Son, my mother and I are to blame. Then, when you left, we did not support you. They said it was your own fault. This was wrong. Really, Maeve squeezed her hands. You came to us, and we pushed you away. Sorry, Ryder. You are our son. Ryder looked at them. The anger still smoldered, but fatigue took over. You were right, he said finally. 20 years ago. They said not to rush with Amber, to build a career. I didn't listen. It pains me to admit it, but you saw right through her. But I don't. We didn't want to be right. Gus raised his head. We wanted you to be happy. I know, Ryder nodded, and I'm sorry that I lost my temper then. He left without explaining. You're just wrong. So do I, Owen said for the first time. Ryder, I was silent about Amber and Declan. He knew and was silent. I thought you'd figure it out on your own. It was a mistake. Sorry. Ryder looked at his brother. Owen looked down, clutching his fork. You were wrong, he said quietly, but I forgive. We all make mistakes. Only Amber and Declan. I will never forgive them. And don't. Maeve shook her head. She abandoned the children. And he is worse than dirt. What's wrong with her? Ryder turned to Owen. He's drinking, Owen spat to the side. Declan came out on bail and told her to her face that she was a call woman. She shook hands with him out of spite. Bar, men, whiskey. I'll tell her myself that you took the boys. She doesn't seem to care, though. Let it roll. Ryder clenched his jaw. Her life is her grave. Maeve sobbed. Gus hugged her. You are a good father, she said. You can handle it. The door to the room opened and Kane and Levy came out with bags. We're ready, Dad, Kane said, looking at him. Ryder stood up, hugged his mother, shook his father's hand, and clapped Owen on the shoulder. Thank you, he said, for everything. Go ahead, Gus nodded. And call sometimes. Maeve cried, hugging Kane and Levy. Be good boys to Daddy. It's hard for him, she whispered. We will, Grandma, Levy smiled. They walked out to the pickup truck. The rider threw the bags into the back, and the boys climbed into the cab. The engine roared, and the Ford took off north toward Colorado. Kane looked out the window, and Levy chatted about the stars. Ryder was silent, but everything was singing inside. His sons were with him. Things started to look up. 200 miles of road were left behind, as were Maeve's tears, Gus's forgiveness, and Owen's promise to tell Amber. Night turned to morning, and the pickup drove into Spring Creek, to the house by the river that Ryder had rented from old woman Millie. The boys' bags were in the back, the engine stopped, and he turned to his sons. We've arrived, boys, he said, slapping the steering wheel. This is our new home. Kane looked out the window. Levy pressed himself against the glass. The house was modest wooden walls, peeling paint, a porch with a rickety step. Not the big house in Lockhart where they grew up, but that didn't bother them. Cool, Dad. Levy jumped out of the car, almost tripping. Is there a river nearby? Yes, around the corner. Ryder came out, stretched, and his back cracked. Let's go, I'll show you. They went inside. 2 rooms, a kitchen with a stove, an old sofa, and a table. It smelled of dampness and wood. Ryder threw his bag on the floor and looked around. He felt cramped. He promised the boys more, but that's all he could do. We'll live here, he said, looking at them. Modest, but... Dad, it's okay. Kane stepped towards him and patted him on the shoulder. We don't need a palace. You are with us. This is the main thing. Exactly, Levy nodded, dragging his backpack. It was cool with my grandparents, but it's better with you. Ryder looked at them, Kane, tall, with his stubborn gaze, and Levy, blonde, with a smile. They didn't complain. They didn't blame me, and it took a weight off his shoulders. Okay, he smiled. Then let's figure it out. Kane, take that room, Levy this one. I'm on the couch. No, Dad, Kane shook his head. Levy and I are in one. You take the room. You're old, your back hurts. Old? Ryder laughed, pushing him on the shoulder. Look who's old here, kid. Levy chuckled and ran into the room. They began to unpack. Kane hung his jacket on a nail. Levy pulled out his books about space and stacked them on the windowsill. Ryder went to the kitchen, opened the cabinet. It was empty, only a couple of plates from Millie. We need to go to the store, he said over his shoulder. There is no food. I'll help, Kane approached. What will we take? Potatoes, meat, bread, Ryder shrugged. And a beer for me. I'll have a cola, Levy shouted from the room. Agreed, Ryder nodded. We'll go after lunch. They've been busy all day. Kane swept the floor. Levy wiped the dust from the windows. Ryder was fixing a porch step, the hammer pounding while the boys hauled boards from the pickup truck. By evening, the house became theirs, modest, but lively. Dad, you're worried, right? Levy sat next to him on the porch while Ryder hammered in a nail. Where did you get it from? He raised his head. Your eyes are like that, Levy shrugged. You seem to think that this is not enough for us. Ryder put the hammer down and looked at his son. I want you to have everything. Better than now. We have you. Kane came out and leaned against the railing. Mom left us. But you don't. We have enough of this. Ryder clenched his jaw and nodded. You are my boys. I won't let you down. We know, Kane smiled. Let's cook dinner. I'll peel the potatoes. The next day, Ryder went to the sawmill, leaving the boys at home. Paul met him at the gate. Colt, did you bring them? He asked, wiping his hands on a rag. Yes, Ryder nodded. We arrived yesterday. Let's settle in. Well done, Paul patted him on the shoulder. If you need anything, speak up. We don't abandon our own. Thank you, Ryder went to the saw, but the mood was light. The children are at home, there is work. Life was getting better. In the evening he returned, smelling of tar and sweat. Kane was frying meat in a frying pan. Levy was cutting bread. Ryder plopped down on a chair. Are you the boss here? He asked, smiling. Yeah, Kane nodded. We decided to feed you. You plow like an ox. Well done, Ryder patted Levy on the head. It smells delicious. There was a knock on the door. Ryder stood up and opened it. Sage was standing on the threshold with Emma. Sage was holding the bag. Emma was fiddling with her braid. Hello, Carpenter, Sage smiled. Rumor has spread that you and the boys have returned. We decided to come in. Come in, Ryder stepped to the side. Kane, Levy, guests, the boys looked out of the kitchen. Emma waved her hand. Hello, I'm Emma. Who are you? I'm Kane, the elder nodded. This is Levy. Cool, Emma ran inside. You smell like food. We're frying meat, Levy smiled. Want? Yeah, she plopped down on a chair. Sage placed the bag on the table. Beer for you, Ryder, she said, and Coke for the boys. Emma insisted. Thank you, he took the bottle. Sit down. Let's eat together. They sat down at the table. Ryder, Sage, Kane, Levy, Emma. The meat was sizzling. The potatoes were smoking. The cola was bubbling in the glasses. Emma chatted incessantly. Yesterday at our school, a kid broke the window with a ball, she said, chewing. The teacher was yelling, and we were laughing. We had this too, Kane chuckled. Only Levy once brought a beetle to class, and the girls squealed. It was a cool bug. Levy laughed. Dad said that I am a scientist. A scientist with bugs, Sage winked. And you, Kane, what do you like? It's a lot to fix, he shrugged. And I have a guitar, but I don't know how to play yet. I'll teach you, Emma straightened up. My grandfather played. I remember a couple of chords. Seriously? Kane narrowed his eyes. Show me later. Yeah, she nodded. Ryder looked at them, feeling warm. The boys laughed. Emma chattered. Sage made Barb jokes. Emma, don't eat so fast, she said. Otherwise your belly will burst. It won't burst, Emma snorted. I'm strong. Like a wolf, Ryder nodded at Sage's tattoo. Inherited it from my mother. Exactly, Sage laughed. I have it as a fighter. Dinner dragged on for a long time. They chatted about trifles about the river, about the sawmill, about how Emma once caught a frog and named it Bob. Kane and Levi found a common language with her, and Ryder and Sage exchanged glances more often than necessary. Thanks for coming, he said when the plates were empty. It's fun with you. We too, Sage stood up and pulled Emma's hand. Let's go, soldier. Tomorrow is school. Bye, Kane. Bye, Levy. Emma waved. Come to us. We'll come, Levy nodded. Ryder walked them to the porch. Sage turned around. You have good boys, she said quietly, and you're okay. You too, he smiled. Come again. Let's go in, she winked and walked with Emma into the darkness. Ryder returned to the house. Kane was washing the dishes. Levy was leafing through a book. Dad, they're cool, said the younger one. Emma is funny. Yeah, Kane nodded. And Sage is normal, not like Mom. Ryder clenched his jaw, but nodded. Ryder Colt sat sipping his beer and looking out at the river. Kane and Levy were busy inside. Kane was fixing an old lamp. Levy was reading a book about the stars, occasionally shouting out facts about Mars. Sage's visit with Emma yesterday left a warm feeling laughter, chatting, a feeling that life was getting better. The children settled in, school was waiting for them in a week, and Ryder felt like he was breathing more freely. Amber and Declan were somewhere far away in the past, and he hardly thought about them. The phone vibrated in my pocket. He pulled it out. Owen. Owen, he said, pressing the phone to his ear. What happened? Ryder, his brother's voice was heavy, as if he were moving stones. Amber died. Ryder froze. The beer almost slipped out of my hand. What? He asked again, as if he hadn't heard. She died, Owen coughed. Found it yesterday. Alcohol. The liver has failed, doctors say. Ryder nodded, although his brother could not see. Kane and Levy loved their mother, even after everything. He didn't want their last memory of her to be the bottom, the bottle, the dirt, death by whiskey. They deserved better. I'll tell the children, he said. Thank you for calling. What about the funeral? Asked Owen. We need to do something. You can do this, Ryder spoke briefly. I'll write a power of attorney and send it. And sell the house in Lockhart. I don't need it. We'll put half of the money into the children's account and half for your troubles. Okay, Owen hesitated. Are you okay? Yes, Ryder hung up without waiting for an answer. He finished his beer and stood up. Kane and Levy were inside, their voices coming through the open window. He couldn't pull it off, I must say. But how? Guys, he shouted, walking into the house. Come here. Kane looked out from the kitchen. Levy crawled out from behind the table with a book. What, Dad? Asked the younger one, fiddling with the page. Sit down. Ryder sat down on the sofa and nodded towards the chairs. They sat down, looking at him. Kane tensed. Levy blinked. Did something happen? Kane crossed his arms. Yes, Ryder looked into their eyes. Mom died. Yesterday. Accident. Levy gasped and Kane clenched his fists. How? Asked the elder, his voice trembling. Ryder lied. The lie came up quickly, but he spoke firmly. She fell. She called me before this. She asked for forgiveness. For everything. She said she loves you. Levy cried into his hands. Kane swallowed, but his eyes were red. Did she really say that? He asked. True, Ryder nodded. I wanted you to know. Kane got up and went to the window. I don't want to go to the funeral, he said quietly. I can't. Me too, Levy sobbed. Okay, Ryder nodded. They hugged Kane tightly, Levy trembling. Ryder held them, feeling their tears soak into his shirt. He didn't cry. Amber left, and he closed that door. But he gave the children a bright farewell. In the morning, he wrote a power of attorney, a couple of lines on paper, a signature, a stamp from a notary in the city, mailed it to Owen. By lunchtime, he went to the sawmill. Paul met him at the gate. Colt, why are you so gloomy? He asked, lighting a cigarette. My wife died, Ryder said briefly. Yesterday, alcohol. Damn, Paul coughed. My condolences. How are the boys? They're holding on, he nodded. I told them it was an accident. I don't want them to know the truth. That's right, Paul patted him on the shoulder. You are the father. Protect them. I'm protecting. Ryder went to the saw. The work was distracting the squeal of metal, the smell of tar, the sweat on my forehead. By evening, he returned home. 2 years later. Over the past 2 years, a lot has changed in Spring Creek, but some things remained the same. Ryder's house still stood by the river, but the new one was more spacious. He and his sons added 2 more rooms over the course of 2 years, and the sawmill regularly provided him with work. Only now he did not live alone with his son Sage, and Emma gradually moved in with them. At first they came on weekends, then they stayed overnight more often, and in the end Sage found a bar manager for the morning hours, and she began to spend almost all her time at the Colts' house. Kane and Levy settled down and hung posters in their rooms, Kane's with basketball teams, Levy's with space photographs of planets. Emma moved into a small adjoining room that Ryder and Kane had renovated. According to official documents, they did not get married. They both decided that the stamp did not change anything. But to everyone around them, they were family. Locals are slowly getting used to the fact that when Sage says, my children, he means not only Emma, but also Ryder's sons. And when he said, my woman, he always looked at Sage with a warm smile. Dad, where are you? Levy called from the kitchen. Help with the putty, otherwise we've got a crack here. I'm coming now, Ryder shouted, putting down his tools on the porch. He jumped up and entered the house. In the kitchen, Sage and Kane were arguing about something. Emma stood at the stove, stirring the sauce. Levy was running around, trying to figure out how to fix the crack under the windowsill. Are you planning any renovations here? Ryder asked, grinning. Yes, look, Levy pointed to the wall. Crack. Kane says it needs to be sealed and painted, and Sage says that he shouldn't stand yet in case the house sags. I'm saying that you need to call a special master and not take risks, Sage objected, folding her arms over her chest. What if there is a hidden problem? I can handle it myself, Ryder shrugged. Give me half an hour. I'll strengthen everything from the inside. You're not Superman, Dad, Kane said ironically. Maybe my mother is right. It's not the mother, it's Sage, she corrected him, but without being offended. Kane immediately became confused. No, I just burst out. I don't mind, Sage smiled warmly. If it's more convenient for you, call it whatever you want. Levy sometimes, when he forgets himself, also calls me Mom. Because you really came for us. Well, the main woman in the house, Levy muttered embarrassedly, lowering his eyes. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Sage wanted to answer something, but tears came into her eyes. She blinked and whispered, Of course not. I love you. She hugged Kane and Levy at the same time, and Emma, smiling, poured the sauce into the pan. That's great. They sat down, hugged each other, and am I here to cook everything alone? The girl feigned indignation. I'll help you now, Ryder nodded and went to the stove. So they then had dinner with the whole family, discussing how to do repairs after eating. We decided to call a builder we knew Ryder's former colleague at the sawmill to check the foundation. Ryder understood deep down. They were no longer just people living under the same roof, but a real family. Conversation on the shore. In the evening, as the sun was setting, Ryder and Sage went to the river bank. The soft sand creaked under my boots, the water reflecting the reddish-orange hues of the sunset. The boys and Emma stayed at home. Some were doing homework, others were preparing for tomorrow's basketball match. 2 years, Sage said thoughtfully, looking at the water. We've been together for 2 years. It seems like it's not enough, but it seems like it's been around all your life. I agree, Ryder hugged her waist. It's as if we've been living like this for a long time. Sage turned to him. Tell me, are you happy? I know it was hard to forget the past, Amber, all those hurt feelings. But now, Ryder sighed, remembering what he had been through, how he had lost trust in those closest to him, how he had left Lockhart feeling empty, how he had put his life back together in Spring Creek. But then he looked at her strong, independent, with a confident look and answered, I'm happy. Yes, I didn't think I could trust anyone else, but you showed that it is possible. Sage smiled and hugged him tighter. I also didn't believe that one day I would find a man who wouldn't run away at the first hint of difficulty. You not only didn't run away, you accepted me, Emma, and my entire bar with constant problems. We have enough problems too, Ryder objected, but we solve them together. They stood there, listening to the quiet murmur of the river and the wind moving the crowns of the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a bird sang. Ryder whispered, Sage, thank you. Without you, I don't know if I will live life to the fullest again. Thank you too, she replied, touching his lips with her lips in a light kiss. To be honest, I sat in my bar and stewed in problems, thinking that it would always be like this. We're not left alone anymore, Ryder said. We have a family. Exactly, Sage pressed her forehead to his shoulder. And I love it. A scream cut through the silence. Dad, Sage, where are you? Levy and Kane poked their heads out from behind the coastal bushes. Here we are, Ryder responded, moving away slightly. You're kissing here, and we swept the hot cocoa off the table, Levy shouted. Everything was flooded there. Emma was panicking. Sage burst out laughing. It seems that we are being called to family every day. Well, let's go. Ryder took her hand, and they walked towards the house together. A feeling of peace and confidence reigned in his soul. He did not give up when everything collapsed. He did not become embittered. He did not break. He found the strength to live on for the sake of his children. And now there was a woman next to him who understood and accepted him completely. The next day, the phone rang during breakfast. Ryder frowned when he saw an unfamiliar number with an Arizona code on the display. Sage handed him a cup of coffee, and he raised an eyebrow and put the phone to his ear. Hello? Ryder? Great, buddy, said a hoarse voice. It's Buck. Did you find out? Buck. Ryder put down his mug. Damn, how many years? How are you doing there? Yeah, okay, Buck coughed. I learned from my superiors that they are starting a new construction project in Lockhart. We don't have enough hands. And I suddenly thought, maybe you're interested. They pay better than before. Listen, Ryder sighed, I've already settled in Colorado. I work at a sawmill. I have a family, children. I understand, Buck faltered. But if you suddenly want to come back, the doors are open. After all, this is your hometown. Ryder squeezed the phone, imagining the dust of Arizona, his parents' house, the streets of Lockhart, the place where everything collapsed, but also where he was born. Thank you, Buck, Ryder said quietly. But I have a new home here, a new life. I think I'll stay here. I see, the brigadier sighed. Well, good luck. I was glad to hear your voice. And take care of yourself, Ryder pressed reset. Sage frowned. Who was it? An old friend. He offers to return to Lockhart, they say, construction, money, all that. Well, no, Ryder shrugged. I have already made my choice. Sage smiled and hugged him. I'm glad you don't hesitate. If I were alone, maybe I would succumb to temptation, Ryder admitted, but I have everything here. Sage playfully flicked him on the nose. That's good. Several more months passed. Kane graduated from high school and entered a local college where he planned to study electrical engineering. Levy entered high school and acquired a telescope, which Ryder bought for him with his bonus savings. Now, in the evenings, the youngest son spent hours looking at the stars, persuading Emma and Sage to share this hobby with him. Emma herself was preparing to graduate from high school, became interested in dancing, and wanted to go to some competition. The family stood firmly on its feet. The house was renovated. The barn was converted into a workshop, where Ryder made custom-made wooden furniture in his spare time. Sage sometimes paid him thank you for new chairs or cabinets for the bar, while winking cheerfully, "That's how we live by barter." One evening, already in late autumn, when the air became cool and the trees had shed some of their leaves, Ryder went out into the yard and saw Sage, covered with a warm blanket. She stood looking at the sky. "Hey," he called, closing the door behind him. "You'll freeze." "No, it's fine," she turned to him, smiling, "just admiring the stars." Levy spoke so enthusiastically about the Orion Belt today that I decided to take a look myself. Ryder came up and hugged her to him, feeling her body warm and familiar under the blanket. "Listen," he said quietly, "we never got married. Maybe. We'll decide after all, not for the sake of formalities, but to gather loved ones." Sage shook her head, but there was tenderness in her eyes. "You know, in our city, they still think that we are married, and it's good for us anyway. But I agree. Let's have a party. Not a wedding, just a party for friends and family. With music, delicious food, and dancing." Ryder raised an eyebrow. "I absolutely love the way you dance." "Oh yeah," Sage laughed. "Let there be a dance evening. Let's call Paul, Ted, and even the whole sawmill." Ryder kissed her temple. "Sounds great. What should we call this holiday?" "Let's call it Our Life Goes On," Sage grinned, "or something like that." "It'll do," he laughed with her. "I suggest Wolf Party." "What a joker." Sage poked him with her elbow with feigned displeasure. "But I like it." Their laughter echoed throughout the yard. The lights were on in the house, and Kane, Levy, and Emma were watching some show on TV. Soon everyone will go to bed, so that in the morning they can start studying, working, and living again. But it's not the grueling routine that Ryder once had at Lockhart. This was a new, bright chapter. He remembered how 2 years ago he rushed away from his home with pain and rage. And now, on the other side of the state, near the mountains and forests, he found what he had always dreamed of: real warmth, support, strong hugs, and trust. No one else will allow him to fall so low. No one will betray him. Because now he chose those who stand on his side. Sage pulled back a little and looked into his face. "What are you thinking about?" "About how happy I am," Ryder admitted, "and that everything finally fell into place." Offie huddled together again under the cold stars near the house where their children laughed and argued inside. It was the sound of real life, ringing, sometimes painful, but always full of love and hope. And Ryder Colt, once abandoned, now stood stronger on his feet than ever before. Neither the past nor betrayal could take away from him what he had built himself: a new family, faith in goodness, and simple human happiness. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think, click to the next one.